This is the Lyndsay Stafford Show.
All right, welcome back. Thanks for listening. You're listening to the Lyndsay Stafford Show featuring local legends here in Middle Tennessee. I'm here today with Matt and Josh, who are co-owners of Optimize You, and I'll let them tell you what they do because it's like this plethora of offerings that's amazing. I've been their client for years now, and they actually have been my client for years, so it's a beautiful relationship. But I'm excited. There's so much happening in the world of health and adjustments to make the longevity of your life make your life longer. I can't even speak today. But also make the quality of your life better, right? So you guys are excellent at that. We were talking about this with a couple people previous to you guys showing up here, that just taking care of yourself and puts you in such a different place long-term later in life. So your quality of life is better. And you guys have so many offerings. So excited to have them here today. So thanks for being here, Matt and Josh. I'm excited to have you guys. So tell us a little bit about who you are and how you guys got connected. I don't know who wants to start. It's always interesting when I have two guests on to see who's gonna. How do you figure out who's talking?
We wing it normally.
That's right.
Yeah, that's good.
We just wing it. Me and Josh actually met through this business.
Yeah.
But it was through one of the co-founders, Jerry. He's a PA. I worked with Jerry, and Josh went to school with Jerry.
Oh, interesting.
And so I always knew Josh as the Clarksville PA that works in the ER.
Okay, so you were in the ER before.
I was. Yeah,
wow,
12
what
years.
a change.
Big change. Yeah.
Is your stress level like significantly lower?
You know, it's funny. It's different stresses.
Okay. Of course,
I
as a
much
business
prefer
owner.
this kind of stress.
Yeah.
You know, and extending into business ownership, it's always something I've been super interested in.
Cool.
So yeah, it's very different. But yeah, comparatively, the ER is its own monster.
I can't even imagine. My daughter has had some fainting spells recently. And so we went to the, we got that snow a couple weeks ago. It was like bad snow Thursday night. And then we did get a lot of snow for Nashville.
Yeah.
I'm from New England, so it was not a lot of snow for me, but for here it is.
Sure.
And well, I've been here 9 years, so I'm like a native now, but we went to the ER in Nashville, to Children's ER, Vanderbilt, and I couldn't imagine having a job there. Like the amount of chaos and stress. We were there for like 8 hours, and that was a one shift, like probably half a shift for somebody that's actually there, 12-hour shift. And it was bananas.
Yeah. It can be a little, a lot to handle at times. You kind of make the day go by with having a little bit of lightheartedness, a lot of inappropriate jokes at times.
Yeah. Behind the scenes. Like
of course.
Okay. Yeah.
Of course. Not with patients, never. But it can be very stressful. I'm glad that part, I never want to lose the skills I built. So I always try to work there, a couple shifts a month. Keep my skill set up.
That's amazing. Good for you.
But every time I go in, I am doing what I'm doing for a reason.
Yeah. I love that. My mom is 67. I think she's 68 now. And she still keeps up her dental license. She was a dental assistant.
That's awesome.
She has not worked in decades, and she will never work again.
She earned it, though.
But she's like, I am not losing that. So I love that lifetime learner.
Yeah,
I always want to make sure I keep up with my craft. Okay, so you met through your mutual friend.
Yeah.
And then tell me how you guys got into working with Optimize You. So it's the two of you. How many other founders are there, or owners?
They're the co-founders. There's 4.
Okay.
And so I lived in Paducah, which is where it started.
Yes.
And so Jerry worked at the same clinic I worked at. So
Okay.
when he started the company, I was around. And so I don't want to compare what we did to the ER because I think your life was a little more stressful. But let's just say we were always looking for a chance to maybe do something else. And so he'd open a clinic. I go, I'll work in it. And I'd be like, well, I'll work in it. Well, I'll work in that one. And then ultimately, it finally aligned in Nashville. So they wanted to open in Nashville. And during that time, he lived in Clarksville, which was obviously closer than Paducah.
Right.
So it was kind of a group. They always have, I think, a group that, they would work in that area.
Awesome.
And so that's kind of how that panned out for me.
Yeah, they're amazing. So the founders, I know I've been working with you guys for a while, and you guys have done some incredible growth.
Yeah.
And it really does align with where the world is today and the options that are out there for health. Can you tell us a little bit about what does Optimize You focus on, and what can you offer? And I know this is going to be a lot of our content. I think it's great. And I'm going to ask some questions about it to help the audience learn. So for listeners, if you're interested or curious about maybe some new things in the health field that you don't know enough about to make a decision, I'll tell you, these guys are the right people to ask. They're going to answer all your questions, not necessarily right now, obviously, but go to their website, make an appointment, get a consult, ask questions. That's where Dave and I started. We got blood work done, figured out what do we need to do differently. What do we need to change to maximize our life and longevity, as well as quality of life? So tell us a little bit about what Optimize You does.
Yeah, so primarily I would consider our bread and butter hormone optimization. So that can be serviced in a number of ways. We always tell, one of the more common questions is who needs to know their hormone levels? And I always say everybody, because as much as the 29-year-old male or female that feels phenomenal and wouldn't change a thing if, regardless, they need to know on paper what that looks like. Because inevitably, as you age and as these hormones decline, you're not going to feel so hot for certain reasons. So in that demographic of person, I want to know where you're at when you feel your best, so I know how to attack things when they start declining. On the opposite side of that spectrum, as you age and as these hormone levels decline, it can come with a myriad of different symptoms. It can be sometimes a little bit of loss of strength or lean muscle mass. Sometimes it can be as simple as brain fog or decreased, internal motivation. There's a ton of different things that hormones, are correlated with, and we're finding out more and more. So that's the main thing we do for males, testosterone and thyroid optimization. For females, a whole lot of peri and postmenopausal hormone intervention, a lot of, premenstrual syndrome and PCOS, extending into that type of medicine. And that's the hormone replacement side of it. We do athletic recovery as well, which, works so well with hormone optimization, because a lot of these things, when you put them into practice along with hormone replacement, then they work in concert with each other. So, when you're talking about cold immersion therapy, for example, whether that be cryotherapy or cold plunge, not fun while you're doing it, but the outcomes and the increase in dopamine you get from it and just the feel good that you get from doing that lasts the majority of the day. Same thing with we can go into all of the pros and cons of each, but we do red light therapy, we do infrared sauna, we do compression therapy. Again, cold immersion therapy, we do peptide therapy to some degree, depending on what the issue is, and, dip into human growth hormone, things of that nature, and optimizing those levels. And lab work as well. So not only do we do hormone panels, which is what I would say the large majority of people come to us for.
Sure.
We also extend into, cardiovascular risk profiles, because a lot of times people will reach this wall with their primary care doctor where, we can they'll come in with the good old fashioned cholesterol panel. They'll come in with risk factors. They'll otherwise be healthy and say, every male in my family died at 45. My cholesterol panel looks great. I need to know more of my risk factors. Or metabolic, where we tend to want to treat people once they hit pre-diabetes or diabetes levels. But what about the 10 years that you were insulin resistant? Like, we really need to start isolating people when that occurs,
right, and
making the corrections to decrease, inflammation and get them feeling better and minimize risks later on. So not only do we do hormone optimization, we also kind of extend into essentially risk mitigation as well.
I love that. I feel like there's so much wrong with, I won't go off on this tangent, but I kind of want to, we don't address an issue until it's an issue in society many times. Instead of saying, we know this could be, so how do we prepare and mitigate that and make sure that doesn't happen, that we don't have that? And that is what you're talking about, is getting ahead of it, saying, hey, I'm XYZ, however old I am, and I know this is going to be an issue or could be an issue. What can you do to help me make sure that I do everything I can to not hit that place? So what are some of the common things that you all see that you're able to help prevent?
I would say from a lot of what we do, people, they do come in and they don't feel good. Like, they've got fatigue or they've started having problems. But more and more, what you just said, people are looking for that preventative health care. And honestly, a lot of hormone clinics out west, they're labeled preventative health care. They're not hormone optimization. That kind of goes hand in hand. But a lot of people, weight's a big one, whether it's just cosmetic or the fact that they don't want to have a heart attack or have issues down the road. So a lot of people kind of come in for that, trying to make sure they don't gain weight, or they're starting to gain weight, or they've been into the gym, and that's the easiest person to treat, is someone who's been going to the gym since they were 21 and now they're 34. They're like, I do the same kind of things, but it doesn't seem to work anymore, and I'm losing muscle mass, or I am gaining weight despite doing the things I've been told to do by my trainer and coach, who is telling them the appropriate things. And then that's when you get into the hormones, and if their hormones have started to dip or change, it's not hard to correct them. Like, we wait too long for most problems here.
I feel that way. I waited way too long to come see you guys because I was that person.
And that's the general medical system, is you wait until there's and that's when your insurance pays for it, is you can't get it until you're already there with overweight or blood pressure levels of this high or glucose levels of this high. Then you can get it, but you can't get it before. So that's where people end up in our door.
And that's where they should be. I mean, I feel like it was a game changer for both Dave and I to come and get hormones checked and say, this is, I was that person working out consistently 5 or 6 days a week, getting my footsteps in, eating mostly healthy, maybe too much, but still eating mostly healthy. And I was seeing a reverse. I was in my late 30s when I started working with you guys, and I was seeing things go the wrong way. Maybe some of that was COVID, but I feel like I was doing a lot. I was walking and working out a lot.
People were one extreme or the other. They had stopped doing it, or they got in their best shape of their lives because they could work out whenever they wanted.
But my point is, I was that candidate who did everything right it wasn't working. But you guys were able to come and change that. So is that a common thing for people to come in and say this now everything is completely different?
I see a lot, kind of to your point, on somebody that for years has blamed themselves and keep trying. Social media, as much as I love, it gives you and it will feed you algorithms of little snippets, and you don't know what to take from that other than take this supplement. You should do this. This is the most important thing at the time. And, you add on supplement after supplement thinking that that's going to be the big game changer. And a lot of times we'll have patients coming in and saying, I have done all the work. I have tried these things. I've honed in my diet. I have a great exercise routine. They put a lot of internal blame on themselves, saying there must be something I'm doing wrong. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily. I mean, unfortunately, as we age, hormones do decline, and hormones are responsible for a lot of issues that people attribute to, I'm just getting older, mm-hmm. or, well, this just happens. And sometimes, depending on, your primary care doctor or who you're sitting in front of, sometimes that's what's drilled into is your labs look good. I don't know. We're all just getting older. That's true, but you feel this way not because of the age. You feel this way because your hormones are declining over time. And we need to start, making that a forefront. And there are safe options depending on the patient. There are safe options out there that will get you feeling well. And that creates such a cascade of, now I feel better, now I'm able to do more. Right. And now that compounds on itself, and now I feel even better.
Right.
So yeah, I see that so often where somebody is checking all the boxes and they're like, well, now what? What the heck is going on here?
I'm doing all the right things. So I just shared with you guys that my daughter, she had a seizure a little over a year and, about a year, almost a year ago. And then she has been having these fainting spells. So you go into both of those situations, and you were an ER doctor. You both have probably seen something like that. But what I learned through those experiences is education for our viewers and listeners. Most people, when they experience a seizure, it never happens again, and they never find out why it happened.
Right. And
the same thing is for fainting. It will happen again, but they don't really know why. So with this situation with Isabel, I've been going back and forth with, as you can imagine, a lot of medical professionals. And I'm like, bullish, like I'm going to get answers. This is my child. Sure. I'm going to do everything I can to make sure we do anything we can to help her through this. And because I'm able to get further. But if I stopped when they said, well, we just don't have the answer, let's increase sodium and see how that goes. Maybe that'll help. That's what happens in the medical field today. So we not only do we wait till there is a problem, but then we really don't have a root cause. We treat the symptoms, not the disease of the issue. And I get it, because they're not making money from giving us advice and talking us through things. Sick and twisted and disgusting that's where we're at. But I understand it. That doesn't mean we have to accept it. And so what I love about you guys, so many things, but one of the things is there's the conversations that talk through all of the challenges, and it's not about treating the symptom. It's about treating the root cause of what's happening. Very different perspective.
You just have to combine the two, because most of what we do is through labs. So
Right.
you're always sitting there with a lab piece of paper,
Yeah.
which you can kind of use to guide it. And then you take what they say and find the root on the paper. And hopefully those two things go together. And if they do, you're probably going to make somebody feel better.
Right.
But it doesn't always jive like that.
Sure.
So, but that's the goal.
Well, and you only have the information that you're given. So
Yeah.
what you found and what they say, there's surely
And
things that aren't being shared.
The downfall of most people's labs, especially hormones, a lot of times your primary or whoever won't run it. And then when they do, they get it, they look at it. Most everybody's hormones end up in the normal ranges of the scale, and they call you and leave a voicemail that says, look good.
Everything
bye.
looks good.
And they don't, and that, I mean, at some point you may have had a conversation of why we're having these labs done, but you got to take what they said and compare it to the paper. And then you can find a lot of problems if you do that.
Yeah.
But they kind of didn't want to run them to begin with. So they're not going to do a lot for it
Right.
once you get it done.
And we find more and more patients are getting into the driver's seat of their medical care more, where they're not accepting that as much anymore. Where if they don't find the answers they're looking for, then, and that's also why I'm glad to see places like us exist, because it gives another option, another pathway for people to go down and try to get answers on why they're feeling how they are.
Right. Well, actually, as we're talking, I'm like, I really just need to bring her in and have you guys do labs and like at least see what you see.
Yeah.
Right. She's almost 18, and I don't know what we'll find out, but it's certainly not going to hurt us to have more information.
That's the big thing, is it doing labs, and at least what we do in our clinic, it's pretty easy, and it's not going to hurt anything ever. We're just going to be like, oh, look, here's an option, or I'm sorry, we don't see the option here. I think you're fine right now, which I mean, I can count on one hand how many times I probably went, yeah, you're fine. Don't worry about it. There's always something you can suggest,
right,
and give, a confidence level in it. It's like, I think this might work, right? I think we're guessing, but we might be able to try this if you want to, like based off what you just told me.
It's a partner in your health. Yeah.
Exactly.
Be upfront about it at least.
Yeah, for sure. So I want you to share with us, what are some of the things that you offer that, like, in an ideal world, all of your patients would be doing on a regular basis? I know you talked about like cold plunging. Like, I'm sorry, I can't. Like, maybe someday my son will go from our pool to our hot tub. Now, right now it's cold. It's winter. The pool is cold. We don't turn the heat.
It is a cold plunge.
We'll turn the heat on in the spring and fall, but not the dead of winter, because you don't really want to get in the pool anyways. Get in the hot tub if you really want to get in the water. But he'll go from the pool and do like cold therapy in the saltwater pool, and then go get in the hot tub. And I did pay him $20 to jump in the pool one time, just because he asked me. I was like, how about 10? He somehow got my husband to commit to 20 from us. But what are some of the things that you think are underutilized? Some of the resources or treatment options?
I'll be a hypocrite right now and tell you the sauna, because the sauna, you can find a lot of research, like clinical evidence on cardiovascular benefit. People always want to talk about cortisol and how to decrease cortisol. And I mean, there's a lot of things that potentially the sauna helps. I've been in that thing maybe 3 times. Now I get in the I get in the cryo a lot.
You do?
Yeah, I do. Actually, I'll go 3-4 times and now it's across from my office. It's not like it's this big reach to go over there. But the sauna, I'm kind of hot natured to begin with. So you get in the morning and you're all a sweaty mess. Well, I got to see patients in a second. So then do I want to do it at the end of the day? Well, I'm already trying to go to the gym. So I've got plenty of excuses for the sauna. But it's the number one thing I personally should do. And it honestly, at least in Brentwood, that's the one patients use. Probably the ones that come, they're set on that and come because they've done the research and they're like, wow, this is an easy, free thing to do to make me better.
Wow.
Especially cardiovascular risk, which is what like you talked about. That's a big one, but people won't do it. Looking over here at me, I'm one of them, but at least I do get in the cryo. But I would start there. That's what I need to do. That's actually a goal this year, and I think that should be a lot of people's goals.
That's a great one. And usually
because they're everywhere.
They are.
Like, that's not our main business model, is trying to get people, but we have one. And if you're a Hormone member, it's essentially free. So
it comes with your membership, because you do. I have friends that I have a lot of people I sent to you guys, but friends that will go in and do all of it. The red light, sauna, cold, like you can do all of that, right?
Yeah, and
so
in this area, there's one somewhere. So
we were just talking about that.
People should be doing it.
You have one in Brentwood, Nolensville.
Yeah.
It's a Brentwood address, but it's like really kind of in Nolensville. Downtown Franklin.
Yep.
And Murfreesboro is a satellite.
But ironically, where we are right now, we're in it's not our recovery place, but we're in a recovery place. So there's those services right in the hallway.
Okay.
Yeah. So normally where we are, there's something very close that has those options. And even if it's not us, your gym probably has a sauna.
Yeah.
Like I said, as long as you're doing something, if you feel better, you feel better. Like that's what we're looking for.
Maybe you need to buy one for your house though, because you do it after your workout.
I've considered that 67 times.
Yeah. Well, this is 68.
Yeah. So that's the best way for me to do it is do it in the morning shower and then go to work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have to figure out how do you make it work with your schedule. So just because it's accessible at work doesn't mean that's the best option.
Correct.
Right. I'm telling people that all the time. I recently my husband got me one of those treadmills that's like it's like for under your desk. Now it's like long enough for me. I'm only 5'2". People are very surprised that I'm that short when they meet me. If they've just like seen me online, they're like, I thought you would be taller. I'm like, well, I'm not. This is me. I'm 5'2". But I'm fine to walk it. My son is like probably 5'8". He's 15. And he will fall off of it because like his stride is too long. I don't have long legs. So I'm like this. And he's like, oh, okay. But I put that in my husband got it from Christmas. And I walk anyways. But I put it in my office and have a little standing desk that I can work off of. And it's unbelievable how many more footsteps I'm able to get without really intentionally doing it. Because I just am like, set rules. Okay, I'm on my phone. If I'm going to answer text messages, DMs, or emails on my phone, I'm going to be on the treadmill doing it because I can do that, right? So working those small things into figuring out how to get that done. So maybe a sauna in your house.
I think that's
for you.
I think that's or we just need an Optimize You where I live, like right there.
There you go.
There you go. Find another building.
I need a whole other building. It's super cheap.
Just
No big
instead
deal.
of buying a sauna, just buy another building.
How'd you land in this location? I needed a sauna.
I live here. Yeah.
I needed a sauna. So we just bought a building. I'll see if that'll fly with the partners.
Yeah, right.
I don't know if you can substantiate that on your business proposal there. But the downtown Franklin location is super convenient. It's right across from the factory.
Yep.
In Franklin. You guys have all the things there, right? Red light. Tell me what you have there.
So it doesn't actually have a sauna in that building as of right this second.
I guess maybe today that'll be the first thing y'all do is
I don't work there. I don't work there much, so I can't really use that as an excuse. But go ahead, Josh. You work there every day.
Yeah. So we've got red light therapy. We've got cold plunge. So we've got cold immersion therapy. We've got compression therapy, and that's not just the traditional legs. We have legs, hips, arms, depending on what you need. We've got an in-body scanner there, so that's very, very important to track whenever somebody is doing any form of hormone replacement therapy, because so often the improvements you see are along with the improved lean muscle mass that you get. You also get, in combination with that, a decrease in visceral fat, or, sometimes that stubborn belly fat or things like that. So a lot of times the scale in and of itself can be very tricky because you're gaining essentially slowly but surely lean muscle and losing fat at the same time. So people can be very frustrated when they follow the scale itself. So it's very important to give somebody insights into, what is my true body fat percent? What is my true, skeletal muscle mass percent? And track that as opposed to numbers on the scale. So we have that as well. But yeah, we have vibration therapy too. So that's something that I feel like is a little underutilized. Okay. But it's also very important too. We have that.
Why would you do a vibration? Tell me about that. I don't know much about that.
Yeah. So basically, those very small, very high frequency oscillations help a lot with digestion. They help a lot with joint pain over time. So the way we have it set up in Franklin is you can do simultaneously red light therapy and then also stand on the vibration plate. So I always encourage people, you're there for red light therapy anyway. Why not have the added benefit? It improves balance. There's actually a lot of studies with people that have balance issues or, stroke survivors that increases their cerebellar function. It helps stabilization. So yeah, it can be beneficial as well. Yeah, I jokingly say all the time, these recovery services, he alluded to the sauna. If there was a pill that could reduce all-cause cardiovascular death like sauna does, it would be the most popular medication you could possibly take. But unfortunately, these things are underutilized, and most of that may be contributory to, we just need to get word out more on how impactful this can be, not just feeling good, but also just outcomes later on in life.
Yeah, well, it goes back to big pharma and
Just a little bit.
Yeah, just all that. And recently,
on that,
I know, and
so-
I'm not going to talk because I appreciate our medical field and all the employees that work in the medical field, and I appreciate what we're doing. But it is so easy for people to say, I'm going to take a pill for this and not do all the natural things. With Isabel, one of the things they told me as we were kind of evaluating what's going on with her is, because I'm like, listen, increased sodium is not doing it. Like she fainted this week. So like sodium is not all she needs. I need a whole picture of what else does she need to be doing. So then of course I peel back layers and keep researching and figuring out what else we can do. And they said, well, exercise, we could try beta blockers. But fortunately now this nurse that I was communicating with, it was right in that she said, now we could, but exercise, if you can get her to do consistent exercise, which she does now, then that's probably a better option. But I don't feel like most people say that. They're like, well, here's a pill for that.
Yeah.
Sure, we'll treat that. Yep. And there's so much. Okay, we'll change the subject.
No, that's a perfect way of saying it though. Like there are medicines there, we get people that come in. I had a patient that essentially had a rheumatology issue and she doesn't want to take medicines because of all the negativity surrounding medicines. And I, in about 45 minutes in a long, delicate way said, other than keeping your weight down and maybe sauna and that kind of stuff, your body attacks your body. And I don't know a lot of great ways to fight that other than some of these medications, unfortunately. So these are kind of designed for your problem. And I'm no rheumatology expert, but she just has that bug of all medicines are bad. And she's had them probably not explained to her. Here's your problem. Here's your pill.
Yeah.
And she's like, nope, not doing that. And again, I don't blame her. But some of those things people will try if you word it like that. Try this, this, and this. And we could also do this.
Yes.
And then let them pick.
Yeah, exactly.
But
okay, so I want to go into I think it's still controversial, but I don't know if it's quite as controversial as it was a year, 2, 3 years ago, is GLP-1s.
it's still
Because
up
we're
there.
talking about
It is.
just that, which is take a pill or an injection rather instead of, but that's not necessarily what it has to be. So I want from the expert. So if you're listening to this and you're curious about GLP-1s, these guys are experts. I want to hear you guys talk about all the things, benefits, challenges, and just give us some info, education.
Yeah, I would say the most of the things I see as what people vilify GLP-1s for, the gaunt face, you hear that, or you hear about, I don't want to take that, I'm going to lose all my muscle. These things are out there. Now, I personally think that if you do them correctly, and there is a lot of incorrect out there.
Yeah.
If you do them correctly, they are safe, they're very effective. And also there is this notion that you can't keep the weight off. Like you have some imaginary, person forcing you to eat the dietary habits that got you to where you were. That's just not true. So the biggest thing to mitigate muscle loss, there's studies now confirming that if you upkeep your protein intake, that's a huge player in, patients that maintain their muscle mass while losing fat. Anybody that loses weight, it doesn't matter how you do it, you're going to lose some percentage of that to muscle. That is unavoidable. But not having it be a disproportionate amount of muscle mass loss, studies confirm you can mitigate that just by increasing protein. You have to keep up with weight resistance training. You just have to do that. You can't expect these medications to be your end all be all cure all. So I put it to patients like this. If you have a diet of pizza and nachos, no offense.
I'm a pizza guy. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I love pizza. It's make your own pizza night at our house tonight.
He's big time converted me. He's
I love
the
pizza.
expert. Like it's Dave
At
Portnoy
pizza?
and then Matt Hughes.
At pizza, he's the expert.
Yeah, you got to get. He knows all.
We don't need
all
to get
the-
off on it
All
because I
right,
eat it too
after
much.
this, I want to hear the best pizza
I just thought he was
place.
personally attacking me over
Yeah,
here.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to attack. But whenever you have that diet and you take semaglutide, the problem with the medication for some people is it works too well. And what I mean by that is if you have that diet, you're still going to eat less of those things and therefore lose weight. But if you don't use that time where your appetite's suppressed to change your dietary patterns, if you don't use that time to make sure that you're hitting protein, that you're hitting fiber. That's a huge one to prevent the risk factors of constipation or bowel habit changes when you're on the medication. If you don't do the things on your end, or you don't have a provider sitting there and telling you to do those things, then you will have a bad outcome potentially. But if you do it correctly, you titrate up correctly, you take some onus on yourself to say that this isn't the only thing I'm going to do to change my lifestyle, then you're going to have a good outcome. You're going to lose weight slowly but surely. And as long as you have a good provider to walk you through that process, to tell you when you do need to titrate down, and then also be honest with you on saying, let's slow it down a little bit.
Yeah.
You've lost 20 pounds in the last 2 weeks. That's too much.
Yeah. It's not good for your heart, I would guess.
Exactly.
It's the muscle mass sometimes too. Get on the in-body scanner.
Right.
See what you lost.
Which is why it's so important, if you're going to take anything, that you have a provider that's working with you. You hit on fiber and protein. It's funny because those are the two things that I have always really been focused on. I'm such a dork. I'm like, honey, you're eating this breakfast sandwich, but this, if we make English muffins, these ones will have 6 grams of fiber for you. But when you're married 19 years, I think you can have those conversations.
Sure.
Like, you have fiber. But fiber and protein, everyone should be paying attention to that, no matter what. Is protein an ounce, or 1 gram per pound is a good guideline, right?
Yep.
Especially on semaglutide.
Loose guideline, especially if you're taking. So I said GLP-1s. Maybe people don't always know. I feel like it's so out there now, but GLP-1, semaglutide. There are others. Like
that's the appropriate word. GLP-1's the way to say it. You never know anymore, like, because there's compounded versions, there's brand name versions. If you say it wrong, you might have Big Pharma knocking on your door if you don't advertise it right or wrong. So GLP-1s is
just say GLP-1s.
That's the way to be.
But protein and fiber in the American diet are not typically prioritized anyways.
They're not good to start with. No.
So in some sense, getting a partner to help you with GLP-1s, if weight loss is a goal, and I'm sorry, but if that is a goal, then take action, right? Like if you want to do it, then get with somebody who can say, exercise, do your strength training, get your protein, get your fiber. We're going to check your vitals and make sure you're doing this the right way. Then there's a lot of benefits from it. It's unbelievable. I have a friend who's a doctor who we've been talking about this exact conversation, but as it relates to GLP-1s impacting addiction, actually.
Absolutely.
There is so much great research in the cardiovascular world and in the world of addiction. Is that something that you guys have seen?
My wife practices primary care, and I've seen this as well, where the peripheral effects of these GLPs are very surprising, where I'll have somebody that starts it for weight loss and then says, it made my MS better. In my wife's example, she had an alcoholic that accidentally quit drinking on a GLP, and she was like openly, sobbing in the consult with my wife, but was like, I struggled with this for years and years and years. And one day I realized I haven't drank anything in 4 days. And then she said, well, it's been 4 days. I might as well keep it up. I don't really have the urge for it. So it doesn't just, a lot of people think that it makes you feel so uncomfortably full you don't want to eat, but it actually cuts down on addictive eating behaviors, and they're starting to see that spill over into just addictive behaviors, period. So whether it be an addiction to sugar or whether that be an addiction to alcohol, I've even had patients tell me that it sometimes will change the taste of certain alcohols that they really, really like. And they say, I didn't even notice it, but I'm not drinking as much anymore, or I'm not smoking as much anymore. So it's funny, whether it be improving the long-term development of chronic kidney disease, whether it be something like you say with addiction, there's some peripheral benefits we're seeing. Type 1 diabetics, actually, that's one where there's some papers out there saying that it actually helps with decreasing the amount of insulin that they require. Even though initially that was never, ever an indication for these, or decreasing something called dawn effect, where they have a big glucose spike in the mornings. So the peripheral benefits of these medications are very interesting, because it's coming out more and more that it's not just weight loss that we're aiming to do. And, we can have a separate conversation on the implications on this being a longevity medication. And I'm certainly not going to, tap that. But at the same time, I'm very, very intrigued about what more is going to be found as benefits to these.
It's so fascinating to me. And it's interesting. I am curious how, and I don't know how much you guys can and are willing to say, and I don't know I'm not in the medical field, so I know there's a lot of laws from that. Thank God I'm not. But the more information that comes out, and then of course there's two different camps of like, no, you don't take a pill, you don't need a shot, because then you see these commercials or Instagram posts that are like, take this vitamin, it's the same thing. That's not true, right?
I mean, there's not a lot of things that mimic the way those medicines work.
Right.
When you look at the combination of appetite suppression, it is a diabetic medication, so it's modulating the way you store glucose. So there's not a lot of things that mimic that. I'm not saying they don't help.
Right.
And not everybody needs one of those. And that's where people get into, well, you don't need that. Well, sure, probably not. But if it works for you and, a lot of instructor error, they just say, here you go, take it. And that's where you get the, people lose weight, but they lose their muscle mass or they look different. That's the normal worst case scenario with that medicine, which isn't all that bad. We can fix that.
Right.
We may be overcorrected. You need to go to the gym. You need to work out, back off the dose. Like there's a lot of ways you can fix it. So, but I don't know of a lot of things out there that work similarly to those medicines, especially a supplement or this or that.
But there's so many positives. And I feel like for the first couple of years, there was so much attacking on GLP-1s. And now people are talking about the benefits. I had a conversation, this is a true story, with a really close friend of mine who recently started utilizing the whatever GLP-1s, I don't know. And she was saying, I don't think about food. It used to like occupy my mind all day. I would think about like, okay, well, what's the snack? Or I'm bored. I'm going to get something to eat. If there's chips in front of me, I'm going to eat them. And I'm not thinking about how many I'm eating. And this has changed everything, which not only impacts the weight, but the freedom that you have of like feeling like you let go. This is a true conversation I had with a patient, not my patient. And that I think is an amazing, the impact that it can have on your health and just your mental clarity after that too. You guys, do you hear stories like that all the time?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, myself included. So I've lost 60 pounds on
Wow.
GLPs. I have a long ways to go. It was a whole lot of late night shifts, raiding the fridge at the end of a long shift, all that got me
But
where I was.
you're doing it the right way.
Exactly. And that's, your friend described it the perfect way. Is it's almost, I was never somebody that you hand me a plate of food. If I liked it, it's gone. Like it's going in me. So, when I taking that being how I have been my entire life and then putting, in addition with this medication, seeing that 3/4 or a half the plate's gone. And then I just become slightly not full, not just apathetic, towards the food, just I'm good. And stepping away. Used to, I would go out to dinner with friends and they would do that. Some people just automatically have that, cut off of their brain saying, I'm satiated, step away. And seeing somebody leave half the plate of food or a quarter of the food, I was like, what is wrong with you? This is delicious.
Yeah. Or like, I wish I could do that.
Right. Exactly.
One of those thoughts. Yeah.
And really too, for me, it was, and talking more on keeping the weight off is like, once you actually get a taste of how you feel at a lighter weight, doing it the right way, like you want it, it's almost like an addiction in and of itself. Like I now want to keep going. Like I want to feel this way and I want to feel even better. And that's why you don't have to gain the weight back on, when you eventually do stop this medication, especially if you get a little insights into this is how I could feel.
Right.
Let's keep this ball rolling. Let's learn what I've learned on this medication. And then, once you get closer to a goal rate, you come off of it and see, do I have this from here? Can I make the changes and keep this up because I feel good and I want to?
Do a lot of people stay on a micro dose? I think is what my friend was saying, that like microdosing, they stay
Probably
on
less
that
than half.
after. Yeah.
There's a financial part to that too, though.
Okay.
But
Sure.
some people will drop their dose really low. And it's kind of it keeps them where they're at, but they don't have the same appetite suppression. And if they were having a little GI, they don't have those, but it helps them stay where they're at and kind of, I don't want to say feel normal again, but not notice it as much. That's not everybody, but some people do that. And I think sometimes it just helps them keep some of their cravings down.
Sure.
And then it's easier to, get your protein intake in, or they're more likely to work out and those kind of things. So it's an interesting one that's not the same for every person.
Interesting. What about cardiovascular use for someone who is like a heart attack patient? What have we seen in that?
So that's actually also very, very compelling that, it's without debate that if you are obese, then these medications decrease your all-cause risk of cardiovascular issues or death. Now they're finding out that there is a separate entity there. They think it might have to do with the inflammatory cascade that GLPs affect. But there is separate from the weight loss. There seems to be better cardiovascular outcomes and decreased cardiovascular death associated with GLPs. And you go to, again, these peripheral things that we're learning now that goes, okay, maybe we should really start considering more people as candidates. It's not right for everybody. But, going back to putting yourself in the driver's seat of your health, if you have family members that's had high risk and there's genetic predispositions to certain things, you want to start seeking out other alternatives than, the standard streamlined things that you hear of. But yeah, cardiovascular risk is looking very, very promising on what it decreases and helps with.
I think it's unbelievable and so encouraging how much research we keep finding. Or I guess the research is being done. We keep learning about the research that's being done with the multiple uses of that and the availability of it to people that it wasn't available to before. So for someone who might be curious, because I do feel like GLP-1s are a very hot topic, but it's almost like many folks don't really know where to start or who to ask or what to do. What would you say to someone who's curious? And maybe not about that, but like sauna, red light, cryotherapy, that doesn't seem as scary for people, I think, because it's like you're not injecting something, you're just doing it. What would you say to someone who's curious, but maybe like doesn't know where to start?
I normally just try to schedule people like that for a weight loss consult.
Yeah.
Because that doesn't mean we're going to give you medicine. We're going to, and typically if that person's never had lab work done in their life, I try to talk them into doing that because sometimes there's a simple answer like your thyroid doesn't work.
Right.
Like problem solved. We can move on and you don't have to, there's underlying problems and a lot of people do get checked out, but then you can find out what their goal is, see them, see if they want to do medications. Because again, a lot of people are like, nope, not doing a medicine. Yeah. So then you switch over to working out. Luckily through our, I think everybody through multiple businesses, but we know a lot of gym coaches and trainers and nutritionists. So you just got to
you guys know a couple of my
pick the things that work and send them the way they want to try.
And it's probably a combination of a lot of things typically.
Yeah.
So you guys work with Fit15?
Oh yeah, they're great.
I
saw
them.
Tim on the podcast.
Yeah, Tim and
awesome.
Ashley.
Yeah.
I just love those guys.
Oh, they've been so
awesome.
great to partner with. The great thing about them is when we receive a client from them, we already know that these patients have somebody that is doing training the right way, that already has their diet keyed in. Like it takes some of the burden off of me to where I know you've definitely got this in check. So now we have to go from there and see what else we need to optimize to get you feeling better if you have symptoms.
Yeah, they're so great.
Oh, they're awesome.
And you guys also know Luke from the Now Massage or the Now Massage. He was in Franklin. Yeah, because he's right down the street from you guys.
Yeah,
another
absolutely
awesome client partner.
Yeah, that's been a great relationship as well. But yeah, to Matt's point, just show up. Like just show up and ask questions. Our staff is phenomenal at answering questions. They're also big believers in what we do. So if nothing else, just come by. If me and Matt aren't in a active patient, consult, we'll come out and say hi. We'll answer any questions you got. It doesn't mean, like Matt alluded to, it doesn't mean you are going to be a candidate for a GLP, or it doesn't mean you are going to be a candidate for hormone replacement, but start with the question, start with some labs, our consults, they're not going to be what you're used to. We're going to be sitting down for 45 minutes, sometimes an hour, and really whittling down what things are starting to affect you. How does that correlate with labs, and what can we start doing to get it better? Sometimes you leave with a list of supplements you should really look into taking. And other times that's recommendations on a certain hormone to start you on. It's not cookie cutter. Everybody's different. But we want to make sure we take the time and really understand why you're there, what you're concerned about, and try to get you on a path to fix it. And if we don't have the answers, luckily, because of a great network we've built around the area, we probably can get you to somewhere that can help you.
Yeah, I love that. It's very different than a typical medical consultation or a medical feel and you're always there. I mean, every time I go in Franklin, I'm like, hey guys, and you're always there. And if I'm in Nolensville, you're always there. One of the Joshes.
There's a Josh somewhere to help
There's
you.
a Josh somewhere.
That's right. We got the Joshes.
There's a Josh in every Optimize
There
You.
almost is.
It's like the Where's Waldo in
That's right.
Optimize You. Where is Josh in
That's
this
right.
one? So for someone who wants to find you guys, tell us where to find you.
So optimizeucenters.com.
Okay.
That will give you a list of every location.
And
so,
that's you, not YOU. It's OPTIMIZE, the letter U.
letter U.
Correct.
Yep. Centers.com. And that'll give you a list of all of our locations. You just choose the one closest to you. Give us a call. And then, we can give you some information to fill out. You tell us when it works and you come in and get labs. We do in-house labs in there. Very, very easy entry point to come in and talk to us and get started. Alternatively, you can just look up the number or just drop in.
Yeah.
We love to have patients walk in and just ask questions. So do it.
Right across from the factory in Franklin.
Yep.
If you're in Franklin, there's Nolensville. And then we also have all over outside of this direct area. But again, Murfreesboro, Nolensville / Brentwood
That's normally where we're at.
and Franklin. Yeah.
But there's far more than that too.
Yeah.
If, you travel or
All over.
Yep.
Because it was started in Paducah.
started in Paducah.
It did.
Right.
It was home base.
Yeah, not too far, right? And it's grown. We didn't really even get to talk about the business, so you guys are going to have to come back, and we'll have to get one of the another Josh here.
We're at heart medical providers, so
Yeah.
we probably stir the we push the conversation that way. That's where we're comfortable.
That's
But I
right.
think
That's our wheelhouse.
I was so excited to have you two share your professional thoughts on all of the things we just talked about. So sauna is something I'm hearing that I need to look into because that's not something I incorporate, but it sounds like I need to definitely.
And I'm getting you in that cold plunge. It's happening.
Gosh. All I need to do is bring Ben, my son, in, and he'll be like, Mom, we're doing this every day. He just started doing boxing
Oh, nice.
Nice.
at Champions Corner over in Murfreesboro. And it's like old school boxing. Like I'm like, oh, I guess there's not a place I can work while he does this because it's literally like an old school boxing.
Very cool.
But he's probably going to need to do all those things after he's in the ring there.
Nice.
To get beat up, right?
Oh, yeah, for
Oh,
sure.
Yeah. So you guys are really, truly such a partner in health and preventative healthcare, which I love that. So if you haven't checked out, so for all listeners, if you haven't checked out Optimize You, they are my partners. They've worked with our family for years. I'm so grateful for their assistance in so many different things. But check them out. There is a location near you, odds are. And if not, they do also do telehealth and remote work, right? For some of these.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So obviously they can't do blood over the phone, but
With
they
those
will.
initial weight loss questions,
Right.
consults to see if you want to come in. There's a lot of people that call and you can tell they're filling you out on the phone.
Yeah. Should
It's
I
almost
come
like an
in?
interview.
Yeah.
And then they'll show up and you're like, okay, I did good that time.
I passed the
I got
test.
it that time. Yeah.
I love it. But these guys are here to help you. So if you have questions about preventative healthcare, go find Optimize You. Thank you guys for being here today. It's always great to see you. I appreciate your time, and we'll have you back on again. So thanks for listening to the Lyndsay Stafford Show featuring local legends. Today's been our episode with Optimize You and the team here in Middle Tennessee. So give us a like, share, comment, and what else am I supposed to say? Rate and review. That's it. See, the producer has to tell me what to say. I can do this, but I'm not good at that. Thanks, guys, for tuning in.